We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India's External Affairs Minister says terrorism is one of the gravest threats to humanity, demands global action on state-sponsored terrorism, inaugurates UN exhibition on the human cost of terrorism at UN headquarters.
Any state sponsorship must be exposed and must be counted. By now, we know well that terrorism anywhere is a threat to peace everywhere.
Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to attend the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting in Washington, regional and global developments, new proposals to advance a common vision for free and open Indo-Pacific on agenda. US President Trump officially dismantled decades of US sanctions on Syria with an executive order. Easing sanctions aims to boost foreign investment. Sanctions will remain on Bashar al-Assad and his associate. Voting underway in US Senate on amendments to President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, voting on changes to tax breaks and sweeping cuts to healthcare and food programs. Scorching heat wave grips much of Europe, prompting authorities to issue health and wildfire warnings. Unprecedented alerts in France, Britain swelter as temperatures soar. White House highlights strong Trump-Modi ties, underscores India's key role in Indo-Pacific strategy, confirms US-India close to finalize trade deal agreement. And on to the details now. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Tuesday appreciated UN Security Council's strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack and the need to hold its perpetrators accountable. He expressed this while speaking at the inauguration of exhibition on the human cost of terrorism at the UN headquarters in New York. Addressing diplomats, senior UN officials and envoys gathered at the venue, Jaishankar called on the international community to stand united against terrorism. He thus stressed the need to call out state-backed terrorism and extremism openly. He also underlined the shared and urgent responsibility of the global community to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
Terrorism is one of the gravest threats to humanity. It is the antithesis of everything that the UN stands for: human rights, rules and norms, and how nations should conduct their dealings with each other. When terrorism is supported by a state against a neighbor, when it is fueled by the bigotry of extremism, when it drives a whole host of illegal activities, it is imperative to call it out publicly. And one way of doing so is to display the havoc that it has wreaked on global society. The world must come together on some basic concepts: no impunity to terrorists, no treating them as proxies, and no yielding to nuclear blackmail. Any state sponsorship must be exposed and must be countered. By now, we know well that terrorism anywhere is a threat to peace everywhere.
Well, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar will participate in the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting today. According to the ministry, the Quad Foreign Ministers will build upon the discussions held during its last meeting, which took place in Washington on January 21st this year. The MEA in a statement said, and I quote, "They will exchange views on regional and global developments, particularly those concerning the Indo-Pacific, and review the progress made on various Quad initiatives in the run-up to the Quad Leaders Summit, which will be hosted by India." The ministers are also expected to deliberate on new proposals aimed at advancing the shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also will host the Quad Leaders Summit later this year, which will bring US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese of Australia and Shigeru Ishiba of Japan to India. And moving on, Ghana, a name that echoes both ancient empires and modern ambition, the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence in 1957. Ghana has emerged as a pillar of stability and progress in West Africa, once known as the Gold Coast. Its wealth of gold, cocoa and oil has spurred a dynamic economy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will reach Ghana on the 2nd of July, that is on Wednesday, giving a major fillip to the bilateral ties. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya with this report.
Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence, has long been a beacon of stability and progress in West Africa. Formerly known as the Gold Coast, it broke free from British colonial rule in 1957, inspiring liberation movement across Africa. Now, when we look at Ghana, with gold, cocoa and now oil driving its economy, Ghana has actually transformed into one of the region's most dynamic nations. The country takes its name from the ancient Ghana Empire, a medieval trading powerhouse once upon a time. Its modern history is rich and complex, from the rise of the mighty Ashanti Kingdom in the 1700s to the British colonization and multiple Anglo-Ashanti wars. Independence came in 1957, led by Kwame Nkrumah, who helped found the non-alignment movement as well. Though Ghana faced political turbulence in the following decades, democratic stability returned in 1992 with the new constitution and multi-party election. Today, Ghana stands tall, a democratic nation with a booming youth population, thriving cultural heritage and growing global presence. The capital is Accra. The population is 32.1 million and the languages, well, apart from English, there are 11 more local languages that's there. Ghana's journey is one of resilience, pride and promise. With camera person Rakesh and more Mukesh Sharma, along with my engineer Saurav, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Ghana.
The White House has once again praised India's role as a strategic ally in the Indo-Pacific region during a press briefing on Monday. In the briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt highlighted the strong personal relationship between US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She also responded to questions from reporters about the status of trade negotiations and Trump's recent comments indicating that a deal with India was near completion.
India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia-Pacific, and the President has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that.
Well, the comments come as External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is currently in the United States to attend the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting. And now we take you live to where the External Affairs Minister is speaking in conversation with Dev Pragad of Newsweek.
About how that society works. So you are in a way naturally adaptive, you have to be on the go. And why I'm saying that is, and I apply, in a way did the same with politics. And frankly, it's amazing how much you can learn by imitating people. You know, you sit in an environment, you watch people. I mean, it is like a best practices. You know, I entered cabinet, okay? So I'm new to politics. Now, I know my subject. I know the foreign ministry side of it, but I don't know the politics side of it. And you learn politics by watching people who are frankly better than you, longer than you, more experienced than you. And you absorb to a point where you come up to their level. I mean, that's why best practices are best practices. But the preparing, you know, I just put a simple proposition to you. At the end of the day, you have to work very hard because there's no getting away from it. But certainly in politics or in diplomacy, you have to try to put yourself in the shoes of other people. I mean, if I were meeting you, I would try not only to know everything about you, but I would try to imagine what you would be thinking about me, you know, or what you would be thinking about the problem which we are meeting about. And that's not that easy to do. You have to make that effort, which means you have to be interested in other people. You know, not just a biodata, not just a balance sheet. I mean, ideally, if I were meeting you, I would like to know about your life, what you do, what your interests are, what have you done before, so that it's, so now if you've been doing it for some time, I mean, now for example, I've just done 6 years as a minister. I pretty much know all the other...
You're watching live from New York, where External Affairs Minister was in conversation with Newsweek. And moving on, India's Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister met with Germany's Minister for Economic Cooperation and Development, Reem Alabali Rabadon, in Seville, Spain on Monday. The meeting was held on the sidelines of the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development. During the meeting, the two leaders discussed various mutual areas of collaboration under India-Germany Green and Sustainable Development Partnership, including green and renewable energy, urban mobility and sustainable urban development, and sustainable livelihoods through ecology. The German minister said she looked forward to strengthening bilateral relations with India and stated that Germany would like to have greater cooperation with India. Also, the Indian Finance Minister met Foreign Minister of Peru, Elmer Chiala Sachlido, in Seville. The two leaders discussed deepening strategic partnerships across fintech, trade, investment, mining and defense, as well as the potential for collaboration in infrastructure projects, particularly the railways. Sitharaman also held a meeting with New Zealand's Minister of Science, Innovation and Technology, Dr. Shane Reddy, on Monday. Both the ministers discussed cooperation in mutual areas of interest in defense, education, technology and agriculture, and shared values rooted in democracy, rule of law and robust people-to-people ties. And the Indian Navy is scheduled to commission its latest stealth multi-role frigate INS Tamal today at Kaliningrad in Russia. This will be the last warship of the Indian Navy to have been built outside India and the 8th in the series of Krivat-class frigates inducted from Russia over the past 2 decades. Once commissioned, the 125-meter-long and 3,900-ton frigate will be deployed with the Navy's Western Naval Command, which oversees operations in the Arabian Sea and the Western Indian Ocean. Though constructed abroad, INS Tamal features over 26% indigenous systems, including the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile capable of striking both land and sea targets. Complementing its weaponry is a comprehensive set of surveillance, fire control radars and combat management systems, enhancing the ship's situational awareness and response capability in multi-domain operations. And still to come on DD India News Now. Netanyahu to visit White House for the 3rd time under Trump's 2nd term amid Gaza truce hopes. Trump intensifies pressure on Fed Chair Powell, demands interest rate cuts to 1%. And Rio's National Museum reopens with restored exhibits after 2018 fire.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the United States has announced a $510 million sale to Israel of bomb guidance kits and related support. The proposed sale will enhance Israel's capability to meet current and future threats by improving its ability to defend Israel's borders, vital infrastructure and population centers. The State Department approved the possible sale, and the DSCA has provided the required notification to the U.S. Congress, which still needs to sign off on the transaction. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed members of the Israeli army leadership on Monday, where he claimed the West Asia would collapse without Israel.
They have essentially built three paths to destruction. First, the choke ring, a plan to destroy Israel through the Axis. Second, a plan to destroy Israel through missile threats. Third, a plan to destroy Israel through a nuclear threat. This is the raison d'etre of the regime. It's not the only reason they want to destroy us, and we are not their main target. But in order to achieve their main goals, they must eliminate us. You can't conquer the Middle East without destroying Israel. And if Israel ceases to exist, the Middle East collapses immediately.
Well, its Defense Minister Israel Katz said Tel Aviv is facing the completion of the Gaza campaign and the achievement of its objectives.
We are now facing the completion of the Gaza campaign and the achievement of its objectives. First and foremost, the release of all hostages and the defeat of Hamas. There are still many missions to be accomplished on various fronts and much work to be done.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will visit the White House next week for talks with President Donald Trump. It will be Netanyahu's third since Trump returned to power in January. Netanyahu became the first foreign leader to visit Trump in his second term in February, when the U.S. president surprised him by suddenly announcing a plan for the United States to take over Gaza. The Israeli premier visited again in April. The July 7th visit comes after Trump said that he hoped for a truce in the Palestinian territory within a week. Also, Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer is due to visit the White House this week for talks to lay the ground for Netanyahu's visit.
This administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives, and however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza.
Meanwhile, Israeli government spokesman David Mencer has said that Netanyahu is working to end the campaign in Gaza.
Now, with the success of Operation Rising Lion, in partnership with our American allies, many opportunities have opened up now following this victory. The Prime Minister made clear just yesterday we need to, first of all, get the hostages out and resolve the Gaza issue and defeat Hamas. The Prime Minister made clear that we will achieve both tasks, and moving more broadly to the opportunities for peace in the entire region, broad regional possibilities are opening up.
Well, President Donald Trump on Monday signed an executive order lifting U.S. sanctions on Syria, ending the country's isolation from the global financial system. Trump on Monday formally dismantled U.S. sanctions against Syria, hoping to reintegrate the conflict-battered country into the global economy as Israel eyes ties with its new leadership. The decision follows Trump's earlier announcement in May that he wanted to ease sanctions to help Syria rebuild after its long civil war. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Trump's move is aimed at creating a path to prosperity and peace for Syria. However, the order keeps in place sanctions against Syria's former president Bashar al-Assad and his close associates, as well as human rights violators, drug traffickers, ISIS members and Iranian-backed groups. The new order also officially ends the national emergency declared in 2004, which had imposed sweeping sanctions on key Syrian institutions, including its central bank. Syria's Foreign Minister Asad al-Shibani welcomed the move, saying it would open the door to long-awaited reconstruction and development. And Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Monday ruled out a quick resumption of talks with the United States and said Tehran will first need assurances it will not be attacked again. Well, in an interview to a news channel, Araghchi said Iran still needs more time, although the doors of diplomacy will never slam shut. Araghchi was also asked about an assessment from the head of the UN's nuclear watchdog that Iran would likely be able to begin to produce enriched uranium in a matter of months. He said one cannot obliterate the technology and science for enrichment through bombings. The Iranian foreign minister said that Iran was prepared to defend itself if attacked again. On Monday, Trump said he was not offering Iran anything nor engaging in talks since the country's nuclear facilities were totally obliterated. And in the United States, voting is underway to pass President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill to extend his expiring first term tax cuts at a cost of $4.5 trillion. The package is expected to slash social welfare programs and add an eye-watering $3 trillion to the national debt. Trump wants the One Big Beautiful Bill to extend his expiring first-term tax cuts at a cost of $4.5 trillion, boost military spending and fund his plans for unprecedented mass deportations and border security. But senators eyeing 2026 midterm congressional elections are divided over savings that would strip around $1 trillion in subsidized health care from millions of the poorest Americans and add more than $3.3 trillion to the nation's already yawning budget deficits over a decade. Also, Trump wants to have the package on his desk by the time Independence Day festivities begin on Friday. The process had ground to a glacial pace by early evening. However, after members considering dozens of amendments as part of the so-called voter-arma required before final passage managed to complete only 14 votes in the first 7 hours. But approval by the Senate is only half the battle, as the 940-page text will have to pass a separate vote in the House of Representatives, where several rebels in the slim Republican majority are threatening to oppose it. Well, the United States will resume trade negotiations with Canada immediately after Ottawa scrapped its digital services tax targeting U.S. technology firms. The announcement was made by White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett on Monday. Canada's ministry also confirmed that Prime Minister Mark Carney had spoken to U.S. President Donald Trump and agreed to restart trade negotiations, aiming to reach a new deal by July 21st. Canada's finance ministry said the country had decided to delay its implementation hours before the tax was scheduled to begin. The tax, which was to take effect by Monday, would have imposed a 3% levy on the Canadian revenues of large digital firms like Amazon, Google, Meta and Apple. The tax would have applied to revenue exceeding $20 million from Canadian users and would have been retroactive to 2022. And U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday continued his extended attack against Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, demanding interest rate cuts. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt at a briefing displayed a copy of Trump's handwritten notes to Powell on a piece of paper showing the interest rates charged by more than 24 countries. Leavitt said Trump believes interest rates should be lowered to about 1%. Trump said that Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and members of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors have failed to do their jobs.
The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies. And we will continue to drive down the cost of living in this country for Americans. We will continue to deregulate. And it's also incredibly important that we pass this one big, beautiful bill, which is the largest tax cuts in American history.
While staying with U.S. police have identified the gunmen who ambushed and fatally shot 2 firefighters responding to a forest fire in northern Idaho on Sunday. Norris said the 20-year-old suspect, Wes Raleigh, did not have a criminal record and did not leave a manifesto. Firefighters came under fire almost immediately upon arriving at the scene on Sunday and did not know where the gunfire was coming from. The suspect was found using cell phone location information and his body was removed by a SWAT team as the fire approached. Deaths related to gun violence are common. 17,927 people were murdered with a gun in 2023 in the U.S. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The judge overseeing Sean Diddy Combs' trafficking trial on Monday said he would remind jurors of their obligation to deliberate and follow his instructions about the law. The comments came after the jury warned that one member of the 12-juror panel may not be able to follow the judge's guidance. The jurors are anonymous, which is not the norm in U.S. criminal trials, but is common in high-profile cases in which jurors could face harassment or threats. In London, protesters gathered in Parliament Square on Monday to rally against proposed reforms to welfare. British lawmakers will debate and vote on the welfare bill on Tuesday. The reforms are expected to push 150,000 people into poverty, despite Starmer's government watering down the measures. The National Museum in Rio de Janeiro reopened its doors on Monday, marking a significant milestone in its restoration journey following the 2018 fire. The fire left only the museum's pastel yellow facade standing and destroyed the majority of the National Museum's collection, which ranged from archaeological finds to historical memorabilia. Well, in a surprisingly good news for the cinema goers, a sequel to Hollywood film The Devil Wears Prada is in production exactly 19 years to the day after the hit was first appeared in the cinemas. 20th Century Studios confirmed that Streep, Hathaway, Blunt and Stanley Tucci will return to their roles and that British actor Kenneth Branagh is joining the cast in an unspecified role. As per reports, The Devil Wears Prada 2 will release on 1st of May 2026. And still to come on DD India News Now. Thousands flee wildfires in Turkey as Europe is hit by early heat wave. Flash floods and landslides bring havoc in northwestern Italy. And monsoon sweeps across India, bringing relief to Delhi NCR, but trigger floods and landslides in Himachal and Uttarakhand.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India's External Affairs Minister says terrorism is one of the gravest threats to humanity, demands global action on state-sponsored terrorism, inaugurates UN exhibition on the human cost of terrorism at UN headquarters. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to attend the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting in Washington. Regional and global developments, new proposals to advance a common vision for free and open Indo-Pacific on agenda. White House highlights strong Trump-Modi ties, underscores India's key role in Indo-Pacific strategy, confirms US-India close to finalized trade deal agreement. US President Trump officially dismantles decades of US sanctions on Syria with an executive order. Easing sanctions aims to boost foreign investment. Sanctions will remain on Bashar al-Assad and his associates. Voting underway in US Senate on amendments to President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, voting on changes to tax breaks and sweeping cuts to healthcare and food programs. Scorching heat wave grips much of Europe, prompting authorities to issue health and wildfire warnings. Unprecedented alerts in France. Britain swelter as temperatures soar. And moving on, India's Ministry of Railways has rationalized the basic fare of passenger train services to be effective from the 1st of July. The train fares will be increased marginally for non-AC mail and express trains by 1 paisa per kilometre and for AC classes by 2 paisa per kilometre. The ministry has said there will be no increase in suburban single journey fares and monthly season tickets. Well, the Indian Railways is also revamping its passenger reservation system to boost efficiency, transparency and convenience. Key reforms including early charting, increased booking capacity and OTP-based Tatkal authentication will full roll-out planned by December 2025. Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw has approved these phased upgrades to improve travel experience. Indian Railways is modernizing its passenger reservation system or PRS to benefit millions of travelers across the country. The first reservation chart will now be prepared 8 hours before a train's departure instead of the current 4 hours. For trains departing before 2 p.m., the chart will be ready by 9 p.m. the previous night. This change will help waitlisted passengers get earlier clarity and more time to plan alternatives. A modern PRS system is expected to be fully rolled out by December 2025. Ticket booking capacity will increase from 32,000 to 1.5 lakh tickets per minute. Inquiry handling will rise from 4 lakh to 40 lakh inquiries per minute. The new system will include a multilingual, user-friendly interface with options to choose specific seats. It will also offer integrated support for differently abled passengers, students and patients. From July 1st, Tatkal ticket bookings will be allowed only on verified users on the IRCTC website or app. By the end of July, OTP-based authentication using Aadhaar or any government ID through DigiLocker will become mandatory. This will ensure a more secure and transparent ticket booking process. The new PRS system is being developed by CRIS and will be 10 times more powerful than the existing platform. It aims to make ticket boosting faster, more reliable and more accessible for passengers, especially those in suburban and remote areas. Well, starting today, National Capital Delhi begins enforcing a fuel ban on end-of-life vehicles or ELVs. To ensure strict implementation, 350 teams from various government departments are deployed round the clock at all 498 fuel stations across the country. across the city coming under the ban purview are diesel vehicles older than 10 years and petrol vehicles over 15 years. The ban aimed at improving air quality in the Delhi NCR will be implemented through advanced surveillance systems at fuel stations across the city. Further, the pump operators who violate this order will also face punitive action. From November, 5 high-traffic districts, Gurgaon, Faridabad, Ghaziabad, Gautam Budh Nagar and Sonipat will begin enforcing the same rule. The remaining parts of the National Capital Region are scheduled to implement the ban starting April next year. The move comes amid growing concerns over pollution in the city and aims to build a more sustainable transport ecosystem using real-time digital enforcement. And some weather updates from across the world now. A severe heat wave across southern Europe has led to extreme temperatures, triggering health warnings and wildfire alerts in several countries, including nearly all of mainland France. In France, wildfires broke out in the southwestern Aude department, where temperatures topped 40 degrees Celsius, burning 400 hectares and forcing evacuation. A video from Narbonne showed vehicles driving on a highway surrounded by smoke and flames from a nearby wildfire. Authorities said Monday that dry fires in southern France were under control but not fully extinguished. Weather Service Meteo France issued orange heat wave alert for 84 of 101 departments, with temperatures expected to peak on Tuesday and Wednesday. In Turkey, the officials reported that wildfires broke out near residential areas in Turkey's Hatay province, leading to evacuations. Regional Governor Mustafa Masatli said at least 20 houses were vacated and people relocated to residence halls. Turkey's AFAD Emergency Management Authority said over 50,000 people have been evacuated from the region, including more than 42,000 in Izmir. Also, Britain's endured intense heat across parts of the country on Monday, with temperatures reaching 33 degrees Celsius in the capital Monday. Temperatures in the UK were forecast to peak at around 34 degrees centigrade on Tuesday, with a heat health warning in place until Wednesday. As a heat wave swept across much of Europe, Belgian retirement home residents cooled off in dipping pools, while in Grimbergen, the residents kept windows closed, stayed indoors and cancelled outdoor activities to cope with heat. An orange heat warning was issued for most regions by the Royal Meteorological Institute for the coming days. Meanwhile, as temperatures in Germany rose to 27 degrees Celsius, the animals at Berlin Zoo were given special cold treats with food frozen in ice along with the ice showers. The next few days could see even hotter weather, with temperatures up to 40 degrees Celsius expected in some parts of Germany. Well, an aerial video from Italian firefighters shows mountain roads in Argentina cut off by a landslide and streams of water. A man in northwestern Italy was killed on Monday in a flash flood caused by heavy rains. Firefighters rescued at least 10 people trapped by the waters, as well as a handful stuck in their cars. The town's mayor had warned residents not to leave their homes or approach bridges, as sudden bad weather caused the Fergus waterway to break its banks. Well, the monsoon has now swept across the entire country, offering much-needed respite from the sweltering heat in Delhi, NCR and other parts of North India. On Monday, the Met Department confirmed that active monsoon conditions will persist across large swathes of northwest, central and east India over the week, with heavy rainfall expected to continue. In the national capital, the season's first widespread showers on Sunday provided welcome respite from the oppressive humidity, bringing down maximum temperatures to 32.8 degrees centigrade, 5 degrees below the normal. The IMDs issued a yellow alert for the capital, forecasting light to moderate rainfall to continue until July 5th. As per the IMD, while the rainfall has brought relief from the sweltering heat, it has also triggered flash floods and landslides, particularly in the states of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. In Himachal, due to heavy rains and landslides around the tunnels, traffic has been stopped on NH21 connecting Kullu and Manali to Mandi. Also, traffic has been stopped for road repairs on National Highway 305 between Saini and Banjar. Travellers are advised not to plan their visit to Mandi, Rampur and Manali. Road repair is expected to be over by afternoon. And for more on the weather, we have Muskan Chaudhary joining us from Shimla. Muskan, how are the local authorities in Shimla and emergency services responding to the flash floods and landslides caused by the incessant monsoon rains in Himachal? What's the current state of the weather there right now?
Lipakshi, monsoon has begun in Himachal Pradesh and it has started to create a havoc already. The state is experiencing heavy rainfall since last night, and in the past 48 hours, the torrential rains have wreaked havoc in Mandi. The two villages in Mandi district have been completely washed away, while two cloudburst incidents have occurred in Karsog area. And there is a fear that 9 people, along with their houses, may have been swept away, although the administration has not yet officially confirmed these figures. And on the other hand, the megawatt Pitkari project in Mandi has been completely destroyed, and 10 houses and a bridge has been swept away by the flood. And the water levels are continuously rising around the state. The floods are already overflowing over their capacities, and administration has advised the people who are living near the water bodies to evacuate the area and to reach to the safer place. The administration and the SDRF are on a high alert, and the two incidents that occurred in Mandi, in those villages, the rescue operation was conducted this morning, and few people, they were safely being evacuated to the safer places. And the IMD department has issued high alert of heavy rainfall and flash flood in Chamba, Sirmaur, Hamirpur, Solan and Shimla for the next 48 hours. And considering the rainfall situation, the school and all the educational institutions will be closed in Hamirpur and Dharamshala for today.
All right, Muskan, thank you so much for all those details from there. And still to come on DD India News Hour. GST marks 8 years with record collections in 2024-2025. Digital India celebrates 10 years transforming villages with digital access to health, education and judicial services. And England retains unchanged 11 for second test against India starting Wednesday at Edgbaston.
Welcome to DD India, where a billion voices unite, connecting viewers to the stories that matter. India is not just another news channel. It's the international channel that puts the spotlight on the global south, bringing you stories from the heart of emerging economies, dynamic cultures and transformative voices. As the international news channel of India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, DD India delivers high-quality content from every corner of the globe, focusing on the stories that shape our future. We don't just report news. We connect you to India's voice in the global narrative. From current affairs to culture, from economic growth to sustainable development and the ever-evolving world order, DD India gives you a comprehensive view of the world around us. Stay connected, stay informed, and embrace the stories that shape our lives. DD India, India's voice to the world.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and on to some business news now. The Goods and Services Tax, or GST, widely hailed as one of the biggest economic reforms in post-independence India, completes 8 successful years, with collections soaring to a record 22.08 lakh crore rupees in 2024-25, marking a year-on-year growth of 9.4%, with the number of taxpayers in its ambit surging past 1.51 crores. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had called GST path-breaking legislation for New India at its launch on July 1st, 2017. 8 years on, the numbers speak for themselves, reflecting India's strong fiscal position. The average monthly collection stood at 1.84 lakh crore rupees in 2024-25, a blockbuster year. In 2020-21, the total collection was 11.37 lakh crore rupees with a monthly average of 95,000 crore rupees. On Tuesday, that is 1st of July, marks the 10th anniversary of Digital India, which is proving to be a milestone in India's progress. Villages have started becoming a part of the country's Digital India campaign. Government work related to health, education and judicial services has started happening digitally. Details of the journey so far in our next report.
Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is continuously moving towards a developed India. The Digital India campaign has strengthened the resolve in this direction. The Digital India project was launched on 1st July 2015 with the aim of improving the country's digital infrastructure system. In the last 10 years, through Digital India, India has set an example of how the right use of technology can prove to be revolutionary for the development of humanity. Today, instead of cash money in our pockets, we have started keeping money in our mobile wallets, and even the poorest of the poor people are moving ahead digitally. A revolution where technology meets inclusion. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Digital India, initiatives like UPI DBT are bridging gaps, boosting transparency and bringing governance closer to every citizen, right down to the last mile. Over 44 lakh crore of rupees directly transferred to beneficiaries' accounts, while more than 2,500 times jump has been recorded in UPI transaction volume. PM Modi asserted that powered by the youth of India, we are making remarkable progress in innovation and application of technology. It is also strengthening our efforts to become self-reliant and a global tech powerhouse. Over 17,000 crore UPI transactions have been recorded in just 1 year. Today, India accounts for 49% of global real-time digital payments, a testament to the power of Digital India initiative. Besides, government's program of providing unique identification number or Aadhaar is powering India's digital identity revolution. With over 150 billion authentication transactions, Aadhaar stands as the world's largest digital ID program, empowering 141 crore Indians with a unique 12-digit identity. Also developed under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Digital India is the flagship initiative of DigiLocker. The initiative towards paperless governance, DigiLocker aims at digital empowerment of citizens by providing access to authentic digital documents to citizens' digital document wallet. DigiLocker is a secure cloud-based platform for storage, sharing, and verification of documents and certificates. India is undergoing a remarkable transformation in artificial intelligence driven by the visionary leadership of PM Modi. From setting up AI centers of excellence in premier institutes to developing indigenous models like Bharat Gen, Sarvam 1, Chitra Lekha, and Everest 1.0, India is making bold strides in the world of AI. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, over the last few years, through Digital India, the country has set an example of how right use of technology can prove to be revolutionary for development of humanity. The flagship program of the Government of India completes 10 years today, focused on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy.
Digital Age of India, a new era, a new India. The country once burdened with paper files is now empowered by digital documents. The India that once stood in queues for hours has now become an India where services are accessible with a single click. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Digital India has transformed from a government scheme into a mass movement. Today, the internet is reaching every village, connecting youth to new jobs, making governance more transparent and accountable. There are now more than 1.5 lakh startups and over 100 unicorns in the country. In 2014, there were only 0.84 lakh common service centers, CSCs, in India. Today, that number has grown to over 5.97 lakh, delivering digital services even in the most remote villages. Over 300 government departments now operate on the cloud. There are more than 6,000 government APIs, 1,700 plus services available on the Umang app, and over 7.96 crore users. Thanks to the Prime Minister's efforts, digital technologies are expanding rapidly in governance, making everyday life easier for citizens. India now accounts for 49% of the world's real-time digital transactions, testament to the power, potential, and progress of Digital India. Before 2014, India had 25 crore internet users. Today, that number stands at 97 crore. Mobile phone production units have increased from just 2 in 2014 to over 300 today. The number of broadband subscribers has grown from 6.1 crore in 2014 to 94 crore now. DigiLocker, with over 516 million users, has become the world's largest digital document repository, allowing citizens to access their documents anywhere, anytime. Direct benefit transfers, DBT, have grown more than 90 times over the past decade, ensuring that funds reach their rightful beneficiaries. Under PM Modi's leadership, India now leads the world in real-time payments. In 2024 to 25 alone, transactions worth over 260 lakh crore rupees were processed. UPI is now accepted in more than 7 countries, with transaction volumes increasing over 2,500 times. Getting a digital passport today is as easy as booking a cab. The process has been simplified through the M-Passport Seva app. There are now 429 Post Office Passport Seva Kendra and 523 Passport Seva Kendra across the country. With Prime Minister Modi's visionary leadership, India is keeping pace with the world in this digital age, leading not just in technology adoption, but in digital empowerment.
You're watching TD India News Now. Time now for some sports news. England announced it's playing 11 for the second test against India, which starts at Edgbaston in Birmingham from Wednesday. The Ben Stokes led side leads the series 1-0 and named an unchanged lineup for the second match. Josh Tang, Bryden Cars and Chris Wokes will continue as the frontline pacers. Notably, pacer Jofra Archer, who was added to the England squad after recovering from a finger injury, was not named in the starting lineup. The ACP confirmed earlier in the day that Archer's arrival in the squad was delayed due to a family emergency. Well, cricket in Indonesia is gaining popularity in the national scene, and the Indian expat community in the country plays a big role in promoting cricket and building local talent. Our correspondent Chandni Vasandani has more from the ground.
Cricket is not the first sport that comes to mind when you think of Indonesia. The country is better known for its love of football, basketball, and world-class badminton champions. But over the last few decades, cricket has been quietly gaining ground on fields like this one. Indonesia's cricket journey began more than 30 years ago, when members of the Indian expat community formed what is now known as the Jakarta Cricket Association. The community has now grown to hundreds of players.
Started back in early 90s. That's where there were a bunch of expats playing cricket out of passion, out of love for the game. And 1992 is when it was formally established in the form of an association where players would be formalized and introduced into the league, and we had a trophy to play for. So virtually, I would say 13 teams times a pool of 20 for each team. We are looking close to a number of between 250 to 300 players who are actively involved in the game.
What began as a social sport among professionals who found themselves working in Indonesia has now evolved into something more inclusive. Local Indonesians are not just watching, they're playing and winning. Helping drive this momentum is the Indonesian Cricket Association.
Yeah, currently the interest of cricket in Indonesia is growing very rapidly, and as we are aware, there is about 200,000 local cricketers in 21 provinces, which is already acknowledged by the International Cricket Council, and makes Indonesia one of the most rapid cricket developing countries from the associates in the East Asia Pacific region.
The results speak for themselves. The Indonesian men and women cricket teams nabbed a gold, 2 silvers and a bronze at the 2023 Southeast Asian Games. And now some players are setting their sights higher.
Right, so this is, I think, the best time, the best part, and before I get retired. So I hope I can win this, at least this AAP championship for Indonesia.
With strong national teams, the country is now aiming for an Olympic participation. With grassroots support, school programs, and growing national pride, cricket is now firmly part of Indonesia's sporting landscape. From Jakarta, Indonesia, this is Chandni Vasandani for DD India.
Edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.